Hello everyone, in today's video we're going to be looking at how we can take data that's stored in Airtable and how we're able to post this across to another platform such as make.com to use in another workflow. The reason why we would want to set this up in make.com is because we can set our triggers to be instant based on a bunch of different variables inside the automations tab, whereas if we were to set this up in make.com, the triggers work on schedules, and unless you want to wait a very long time for your data to be processed, you need to set the schedule frequency quite low, which can in return use up a bunch of your operation usage and isn't ideal. So in this video, what I want to do is I want to be able to take one of these rows of some data, and when the upload video status changes to yes, which I would manually set, I want to be able to get this data and instantly put it into make.com. And the way we'd do this is we'd jump into the automations tab, which I've got set up here. If we hit create automation and we add a trigger, and the trigger we're going to be setting up is when record matches conditions, what you want to do is select your table. In my case it's going to be global view, and the condition we're going to add is when the, I believe it's upload video equals yes. We're going to run this automation, and I'm going to choose a record just so we can reference some data when we're building the workflow. And we want to send an email, and before we set up the rest of the email, I'm going to jump into make.com, hit create a new scenario, and inside make.com what we want to set up is a webhook and a custom mail hook. Now what you want to do is you want to click add here, and you want to set up a good webhook name that you remember for this module, and I've already got one, so I'm going to select it. And what you'll notice is you'll be given an email address, and basically whenever you email this email, it's going to post across all the data about the email. So I'm going to copy that, and when I send an email, I'm going to send it to them. I'd set a subject line, I'm going to call it post video, and in the message you want this to be in a JSON format. If you don't know what that means, it's okay, because I'm going to show you. It's basically you want to set a variable name, which in my case is going to be content ID. You're going to put 2 dots, and you want to give it a value. So I'm going to hit the plus button here, and the value I'm going to give it is a name, which is going to be C5. And that's all I'm going to do for now. You can post across more data. The way you'd do this is you'd add another comma, and you'd do your variable, you'd add the 2 colons, and you'd do your value, and on the final one you don't need to add a comma. But in my case, a lot of the data I'm posting across has illegal characters that might break the JSON object when trying to convert it to JSON. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be taking this name, and I'm just going to be using the search function in make.com to not have any of those errors occur. So what we'll do now is make sure this is saved first, and I'm going to run this once, and I'm going to test the automation with a selected record. I just hit run automation, and what we should see is all this data instantly gets picked up by this mail hook. And what I'm going to do from here is select the JSON module, and we're going to pass this the body to JSON. So if I look through here, we're going to pass this text to a JSON format so that we can split across the variables and use them inside the workflow. And one thing I like to do here is I like to set up a filter, and I'm going to make sure that this subject line is equal to the subject line I set. So if for some reason some other emails come through that's not intended for the workflow, it won't error out your workflow. And that is set. So I'm going to run another test now. And if I turn on this automation, I can now do it within the field. If I turn this to yes, what you should see is this webhook activates, and when we pass it to JSON, you can see that the variable names map with the ID, which means we can use this data a lot more easily inside the workflow. And what I want to do now is I want to search for a record, and this is the importance of having unique primary keys in this field here as well. Where my base, which is going to be content engine, and the table is going to be the global view, and just checking in here the name, and we're going to use it in the formula where the name is equal, and this is the format you use. You put the column name inside curly braces, and you put 2 quotations, and I'm going to throw in the content ID now, and I want to select all of this data, and now again. And the reason why I'm searching here instead of passing through the JSON object we set up in here is some of my fields have, again, illegal JSON characters that might break the object. I don't want to risk it, so I'm just going to search for the rest of the data and pull them through. And now if I set this back to pending and I set it to yes, see if the webhook loads again. And no, I've broken my search. As you can see, I must have broken my curly braces at some point. Sometimes this happens. It's part of the setup and testing. And again, set this to yes again to trigger it again. And now, as you can see, I can pull across all the data. So as you can see on the free version of Airtable, without any integrations, we're instantly able to post our data across to a make.com workflow. And that's basically all there is to it. So thanks.